stretch for you. You had Bacita last weekend, you had Elam coming up. Two, really, really tough guys, probably national champion caliber guys. How do you kind of keep your head and wrestling those type of competition?
Just know, like, I'm going to win nationals. I'm going to have to go through guys like that. So just prepare me for the end. Match got away from me a little bit towards the end of the match, but I feel like I was right there on several shots I got to finish. But if I do that, I'll be right there with those guys.
Is this good for you to have this kind of competition before the NCAA tournament, so you kind of know what the feel is like?
Yeah, I think it is because, I'm going to know how the top guys are, and I feel like I get better wrestling the guys more, and I wrestle better at the end of the year, so I know we'll be peaked for the end. So we're training right now, so we're not really peaking right now. So it's just a tough stretch for us to get better.
Is that a typical trend for you? Obviously, we saw it last year. You really peaked at the end of the year. Have you always kind of been that way?
A little bit, it's just you want to keep getting better every time out. So I feel like my whole career, every season I've just gotten better and better throughout the whole year, and the more matches I wrestle, the better I get. So so I think it is a trend that I've had.
So at this point, how do you rate after a tough weekend in Iowa? What do you rate your just confidence level going into the next few matches?
Not a whole lot's changed, practice gives me confidence, how I prepare. So just because I lost that match, and I didn't really wrestle that well versus you and I, but I still got the win. So that was positive. I had to ride him. Probably should have rode him out and not let him up, but yeah. So my confidence is pretty good. I've known I can wrestle with most of the guys at the weight, just because I've wrestled with matches, I wrestled common opponents, so I knew I could wrestle with a lot of them. So just going out there and beating them now, it's not a matter of just keeping it close. It's going and beating those guys.
Are you starting to feel comfortable yet at this weight, or are you still feel like you're trying to kind of feel it out after spending last year at heavyweight?
I'm getting more comfortable. It was for sure the matches were a lot more high paced. Like last year I kind of got away with standing around a little bit more, and I'm just getting away from that because even I think with 30 seconds left in the second, we got in that big scramble where I was in on the leg, went to trip. He had good defense, and we had stalemating. He came out, and I kind of wanted to stand there, and he came out attacking, so my defense wasn't really ready. He gets a takedown with 2 seconds left on the clock, 4-2, puts him in the driver's seat. That's pretty much the match right there. So I just got to be more prepared and mentally wrestling the whole time and not going so defensive. When I go defensive, nobody can. I got to have the mindset nobody can score me. So
Michigan has put out multiple guys this year at 197. What's it like, in the preparation for this matchup, where you're not 100% certain who you're going to wrestle versus, you're going to face, Rocky Elam or Younger Bastida? What's it like, not knowing who to really prep for?
Not a whole lot different. I can't really control who they send out, so I just control my mental stuff and what I can do, and whoever they send out, I'll be prepared for. So that's it. Just prepare myself. It doesn't really matter who I have. Most of the time, I just try to keep level-headed, whether I got the worst guy or the best guy in the weight class.
I know you've wrestled at 97 before, but being in the starting role at 97, what is something that you feel like you've improved upon yourself going into the latter part of the schedule?
Just this year?
Yeah, just somewhere you've grown kind of this year, getting more better at the weight and whatnot.
Probably finishing. I'm a pretty strong finisher when I get to the leg. I know I didn't finish that well this weekend. I didn't get any takedowns, but I feel like getting to the legs, my speed, pretty fast and athletic for 97, which most guys are 97. So and probably one thing I'm lacking is probably my hand fighting. I got to get a little better, holding position better. So I think if I do that, it'll keep them off my legs a little bit more, and then whenever I'm ready to go, get to their legs.
We talked to your roommate last week, and he talking about the transition in weights that he's going through as well as you now, but you were kind of similar to him, where you started out lower and then got bumped up. How has he kind of leaned on you of making that move back up to heavyweight?
Connor?
Yeah.
I don't know. He's always been pretty big, so I don't know if he really had to. He was when he came in, he was 250, but he's obviously leaned up. He's leaned up quite a bit and put on some muscle. So in that sense, we've lifted together and stuff. So probably just saying consistent lifting wise, he's been real dedicated to lifting, and you can tell in his body. Cause when he came in, he was a well-built kid, but he wasn't he's pretty lean now and ripped up. So she's really put a lot of time in the weight room. So.
Your sister's running track here. Your dad, of course, longtime coach. What's it like, kind of growing up in a family that I don't know has that kind of athletic background, and you know, do they help you out, or how do you guys kind of relate to each other? And all
Yeah,
that?
it's pretty good. Especially like now my sister's in college. You know, she's I try to eat dinner with her like once a week or something, and meet up and just talk. It's good just because she's more like compassion, I guess, maybe, or like kind of can relate. Where like my dad, like he's real good at like give me stuff, but sometimes like he even like I feel like coaches too. Like when you talk to like Gear last year for me was like he was like in the grind. Like coaches kind of forget like what it is, like what you're going through mentally. Where like an older guy like Gear kind of like knows like what position you're in. So like she's kind of in like the same position as me, like struggles you go through, or like, you know, like mentally, or not even like mentally, but like just go through like talking to different people and everybody asking. And so that's one thing that like she kind of helps me with, is just like keeping things in perspective, and like it's not that big of a deal and stuff. And so it's pretty awesome, and it's made me competitive too, because she's real athletic. So I've just been trying, like even when we were younger, we'd always be racing and playing basketball in the front yard and everything. So it made me more competitive, I'd say.
So you've had to wrestle up in weight and obviously cut weight this preseason pretty drastic amount. How much did Coach Calcagno play into that, making the transition easier? And how's he helped your career overall?
Quite a bit. He's put a lot of time into us, you know, and he's done the lifts. And I can call him at any time, and I could go lift in the mornings, you know. Like last year, especially, like I was lifting on my own sometimes. So like I just text him, he'd be up there, or he'd have somebody up there for me to watch me lift and put me through a lift. And so he's just real dedicated to us, and he's one of the best in the business. So it's awesome we have him.
How do you make the transition in weight classes easier for you?
I'd say he had me on a little. The weight kind of came off like not like the last, like when I was up heavier,
Right.
weight kind of came off pretty fast. So I was just lifting. I was doing a little more cardio, but nothing really changed besides my diet. So he was just making sure my diet was good.
I've got the common notion that, you know, he's a laid back guy, but he'll rip into you if you don't do what you're told in the weight room. What's your perspective on him?
Oh yeah, you know, you gotta. There's no like. I mean, he can joke around, you know, but you gotta kind of earn your respect with him before you can joke around. Like,
Right.
you can't go like if you're a freshman, you better just go in there and mind your P's and Q's and do everything he says, and yes sir, no sir type guy. And so it's good though, because it keeps everybody on their toes.
Tell me about your first lifting session with him. How did that go?
It's pretty good. He was pretty intense. It was pretty cool though, because like we had the number one recruiting class. So, like it was kind of we all like lifted together, and he like kind of watched over us, and like he let the older guys kind of lift on their own. So like for the first couple weeks, we would just light weight, working our technique, because he's real big on technique, so we don't get injured or anything like that. So he would just make sure our technique was good.
Do you remember, were you able to take in any of the atmosphere at the ballpark last year, or are you so
Yeah.
focused in? What do you remember, and what do you think it'll be like this
It
time?
was a cool, man. I remember just the whole stadium and everything being pretty cool. I remember the fans were kind of far away, so I think they're changing that this year. So it should be pretty good for like the fans. Cause like it didn't feel like the fans were really on top of you. It felt like it was real spread out, and so that kind of was weird. But I feel like this year I think it's gonna be on home plate, so it'll be a better atmosphere for the fans and for the rest of us as well. But it'll be fun. They put on a good event.
Anything else?